Alrighty, everybody, hello. Welcome to the Alex Cuesta Show. I hope everyone is out there is having a good time on this Sunday, August 14th of 2022. For any astute listeners out there, yes, we're sorry. We're recording late this week. Normally we're Wednesday. We're a whole, 4 or 5 days behind, but we're here. We didn't forget about all of you. I would like to forget about David, but unfortunately I need him for this show for whatever reason. He's someone here. Hi, Dave. How are you?
Hi, I'm okay. My voice might be recovering a little bit because I had some karaoke for way too long last night, but I'm here.
David's that weird kid that does like screamo songs at karaoke.
Not correct.
Everyone just kind of looks and is like, who invited that guy?
Not correct at all.
And then he bursts into Motown Philly and it's just as bad. He's still screaming. So it doesn't make a difference. But anyway, thanks everyone for being here. As always, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars, Spotify, iTunes, spread us word of mouth, find us on the socials at the Alex Cuesta Show. Now, the reason why we are so late is actually a really good reason. We promised you guys over the last few weeks, like we swear we have a good guest. We have an awesome guest coming. It's supposed to be this week. It's not. We've been promising for the last 2 weeks. And this week, it was a joint effort saying, damn it, we are going to do this show together. It doesn't matter when, where, or how. And we did. We're here. Joining us is Zak Noble. He's the co-host of the Noble Roosh Show on the Ball is Life Podcast Network. And that is the #1 show on the Ball is Life Podcast Network. Zak, what's going on?
Guys, I feel like it's been a journey to get here, but we made it. And appreciate you hyping it up. I'm just happy to finally talk hoops. It's been a little bit of a hiatus for me too, but I've been recording, just had some technical difficulties on some shows and figured them out. So my show will be back this week and excited to get into the hoop scene again.
And again, your Noble Roosh Show, where can they find you? Is it everywhere podcasts are available? What are we looking for to get you?
You got it. I mean, we're getting bigger on YouTube, but we're focused on Apple and Spotify right now.
Very nice. Very nice. Now, definitely, I feel like we're best friends now because me and you have been texting so much about trying to get this going. So we're kind of on that stepbrothers level. We are best friends now, but we have to set the tone for this show. So I have to ask Michael Jordan and LeBron, who's the best of all time? That's going to set the tone for everything going on.
Easy. I'm a 90s baby. And I mean, that's how I fell in love with the game. I respect LeBron, but MJ is my second favorite player of all time. So LeBron probably doesn't crack my top 15.
So we're going to have a sensical podcast. That's good to know. Who's your favorite player?
Kevin Garnett.
I'll take that. But people forget that everyone likes to talk about LeBron being this high school phenom, Kobe. Kevin Garnett came right out of high school and was quite literally dominant in Minnesota from his rookie year on. So I love KG, bringing Brooklyn Net fans. He had his cup of coffee with us. And we have some absolutely great mic'd up moments with Kevin Durant at the rim. I will not repeat here, but go look up Kevin Durant mic'd up. And he's always a pleasure. But that's a great player to have. So we're going to start, nothing to do with NBA, because I saw something. You're a 90s baby. I'm an 80s baby. David's a 90s baby. I don't know how much you guys definitely watch. I used to watch a show called Slam Ball. It was right after WWE or right before on USA. And it was quite literally dudes would jump on trampolines and try and put nuts in each other's face and dunk. And it was the most entertaining and probably horrifying show for people insurance wise. Zak, have you ever watched Slam Ball?
Oh, I grew up on it just like you. I mean, I was a huge fan, and I did see that announcement. I mean, I'll probably dabble with it a little bit. We'll see if it's got the same tenacity. And looking forward to it a little bit.
I feel like a game like that should be on like HBO or Cinemax. Like it should be on there so they can absolutely just talk as much shit as they want. Like it could be a good time. And Dave, did you watch Slam Ball? How young were you when it was
Not
on?
very much. In fact, I'd probably dispute me being a 90s baby. I was born in the 90s, but I was actually conscious in the 2000s. So
fair.
I mean, yeah, what were you, 96?
96. I was 4, 2000. I would say before you're 4, you don't really remember much. So
I always say I started remembering things when I was 5 years old. Some things have scarred me, but other things like basketball lasted till this day. And that's when I started going to NBA games. So my love started then.
If you ask my wife, I still have the inability to remember anything at all. And that, she'll be like, wait, he can remember things? He doesn't remember anything. But yeah, so Slam Ball, definitely. I don't know what network it's going to be on. I don't know where it's going to be. It could be somewhere random because I just found out that, I don't know, me and David are anime fans. So if you're not, I apologize.
Not really.
But I just find out that Bleach is going to be on Disney Plus. So, which I think is like not a very fitting place for a hardcore anime to be on. So we might be looking for like Slam Ball on like the Hallmark Network. So I don't know where it's going to be.
It would be cool if it was streamed on YouTube.
That would be cool. Or somewhere where there's like less regulations, I guess. Mm-hmm. I don't know. We will find out. We will be on the lookout for it, Dave. That's going to be something that we're going to continue to talk about ad nauseum, like we do the AAF and the XFL and all these other football leagues. But let's jump into basketball. We're kind of in a weird moment in the season, and it's even weirder now because of the current situations going on in free agency and such. Normally, it gets frenzied at the beginning of free agency and trade deadline-ish type of stuff, and then it kind of cools down. Well, we never really had a huge free agency this year because Kevin Durant, our Brooklyn Nets, David and I, we had a nightmare scenario going on with Kyrie possibly not coming back, and then he opts in. They still might trade him. KD saying, I want out. And that kind of put everyone on hold. Outside of Rudy Gobert, and we'll talk about that trade in a little bit, there really wasn't any huge deals or trades that went on. So KD asked for a trade. And this week, of course, Kevin Durant, I saw a meme. It's like anytime NBA times to cool down, Kevin Durant just kind of pokes his head. He had a meeting with owner Joseph Tsai, and Nets fans were hoping that something good would come out of it. And it ended up being that he gave an ultimatum. It's me or Steve Nash and Sean Marks. Now, from a fan perspective, KD spoke for the people. We would love nothing more than to see Sean Marks and Steve Nash gone, but it's not ideal. So, Zach, what's your take on, this so far this offseason, what's gone on, essentially what hasn't gone on, and the Kevin Durant situation, or basically the Brooklyn situation?
Yeah, I love that you guys said that you want Marks and Nash gone, always choosing the player. I mean, he's a top 10 to 13 player of all time, wherever you want to put him. But no matter what their personality is, you kind of just got to take them in waves. And I mean, you can't substitute talent. I mean, if you care about winning, if you care about your team, I mean, you always got to choose the player in today's game, unless you have like a stacked team of young talent, which I'm not a Ben Simmons believer yet. I never really was. But you gotta get rid of Nash and Marks. But Tsai already said it. He came out and lost all the leverage. I was disappointed to see that, because I hate seeing one team get way worse than the other. I got a lot of friends in Brooklyn, got a couple more right here, and feel bad for you guys that you're going through it. It's terrible. But I just don't see how they get full value for KD now. With Tsai coming out like that, I think that took a significant hit in the dealings. I also think KD's they already got to this point. They know things in the collective bargaining are not going to go well up front. So why not just hold out? I mean, Ben Simmons practically did it last year. I mean, there's Exhibit A. So if they're not going to trade him, which, I mean, as Brooklyn, you got to get the most you can for him, but it's just not going to work out that way, in my opinion. I think the best case scenario is getting Jaylen Brown. I mean, I'm happy if I'm Brooklyn just getting him alone. Anything else is an added bonus. Maybe Scotty Barnes. If you can get Bam back for Ben and KD, maybe. I mean, it's just, that's the best case in my mind. I'd be kind of happy as a Nets fan if being Phoenix seems like they're on the outskirts, but it's the deal's been made. I mean, they're hanging on to Nash and Marks. I highly doubt the owner goes back on his word there. That would scar him going forward if he changed to KD. So, I mean, it's just figuring out where, when, and how they're going to get this deal done. But KD, it is balls, man. Just changing everything.
The worst part about this is that if KD just wears one size smaller of shoe, this isn't being talked about at all. Like none of this happens.
Yeah, none of this happens. And yeah, it's like I have like mixed feelings on this because I do side with KD on the sense of what he did. I'm not always the type that sides with players only because I know there's a lot of people who are like, always go with the player. I'm like, no, the player's being a moron. I'm not going to go with him. But it's like in this situation, I kind of see both sides. KD wants out. He's trying to do leverage. He's saying, get them or me. If I'm the Nets, though, I'm like, you know what? You just signed an extension. Retire, or we are going to hold you or come play basketball. Like if that, if you're the organizational standpoint and everything that everyone has said about Kevin Durant, they're saying the Nets, if they're smart, they just tell him to sit tight because he will come play basketball because it's in his DNA. He'll be angry, but he's going to come play and he's going to be Kevin Durant. And you're still going to get Kevin Durant, whether or not he's respecting Steve Nash or not. He's a top 3 player in basketball. So it's like you're getting him. Kyrie has reiterated and reiterated. Huh?
You think they can pull that off?
I mean, with Steve Nash, probably not because he's weak and he's not a coach. But the thing is, Marks has a huge ego, so I could see Mark saying, "No, kick rocks. You're going to come play. You signed the contract."
I almost like the retirement play better. That's the first time I've heard that. I mean, it's definitely real. You can do that. Yeah. I almost like that better, but just then you got the whole rest of this team that's almost willing to compete. I mean, there's talent on the team. Don't get me wrong. So no matter what you get back for KD, this could be a playoff team if Kyrie's bought in. I just have talked to way too many insiders, and it sounds like the KD Kyrie friendship isn't even doing well, and that's the most confusing part to me, especially when KD seemed to have his back all of last year, and it's sad because they tore their lives apart to bring this franchise together and go into this business venture, and they're ruining a friendship over it too, which it doesn't seem like Katie and Harden ruined their friendship. It seems like it's still strong. They're hanging out this offseason. So that's unfortunate for me to see. It's always weird when something like that happens, but it just shows, I mean, these guys got big egos, and it's just a big drama fest. I always say the NBA is the male version of the Kardashians.
I mean, I don't know. Like Jaylen Brown, to me, like you said, he'd be a good return. Jaylen Brown can't dribble. That's my biggest issue with the man.
I think he's working on it.
He can't dribble. Yeah, like Ben Simmons is working on his shot. Like that's not
no, come on.
So it's like I can't get a guy that's supposed to fill the shoes of that guy. Like I don't know. If I'm Brooklyn, I'm just going to play hardball. I'm like, I need, like, if Jason Tatum's on the conversation, don't call me. And I know he's not, but it's like, don't call me because that's a caliber of player that you're looking for. And I get it. Everyone's like, KD's 35. Jason Tatum's not KD at all. I know he's good. I know he's getting very good, but I don't think Jason Tatum's ever going to be Kevin Durant. I think
there's a chance.
You know what, though? Kevin Durant was Kevin Durant coming out of Texas.
He was there early. Yeah, like, he was there early, but
I mean, so I don't know. This situation to me, it's the Nets. We're the Nets. Like, what are we gonna do? Like, we're the freaking Nets. Like, this is it. This is what we are. We have best team in basketball. Can't get guys on the court. Now they're gonna blow it up, and we're gonna be stuck with Kyrie and Ben. That's awesome. I'm here for it. So going on to another situation, because my object has reached here with talking about Brooklyn. Let's talk about Utah. They shipped out Rudy Gobert. They've been murmurs about shipping out Spider Mitchell over to our friends in Manhattan over there. The Knicks could use it because their three best players got whooped up in a pro-am. But what do you think of that situation? What the hell is Utah doing? Why are they? I understand Gobert, I guess. You've been stale with him. You needed to make a move. You got rid of one. What are they doing?
So I look at this from both sides because I'm a diehard Timberwolves fan, obviously, but from my unbiased NBA fan side, and I feel like I'm pretty decent at that. I watch 80% of every team the last couple of years, probably 5 to 7 years, I'd say it's been going on for. I think Donovan Mitchell's become very underrated in the big scheme of things. I think he is a guy you can build around, if not get close to, especially in Utah. I mean, I don't think you just give them away for nothing. So I'm a firm believer in that team still can compete and not like win around in the playoffs, but contend for the play-in. And if they develop and make a couple moves on the margins, it's possible. I think you don't need to blow it up just yet for just because there's rumors he might want out of there. Like, wait till he demands out of there. He's not doing that. He would have done that by now. And Utah, I mean, you're not going to get many players unless you draft them. Mm-hmm. So when you got a guy like Donovan Mitchell, I think he's for sure a top 20 player. And I think he's got a chance. He's been a top 15 guy at times and can be a borderline top 10 player and get his way into that conversation. He's been amazing in some playoff appearances, but a little inefficient at times, and defense can be erratic. But you put Pat Beverly next to him, I think Beverly can have the same impact he just did in Minnesota. Like, you sold Rudy Gobert high. Like, you do that trade no matter what the rest of your future outlook looks like. Like, that was an amazing deal for Utah. Mm-hmm. I like them getting the picks and the chance to tank, especially in a draft like this one. So if they start off slow, then sit Donovan Mitchell for a little bit. Try to go get Wemby. If you were able to pull off something like that, like, it's possible they start slow. Boyan gets hurt or Boyan declines. These other guys aren't as good, or you get a first round pick for Pat Beverly. So then you start losing these marginal pieces around Donovan Mitchell. So it's like, all right, I got Donovan Mitchell, then I can get a high draft pick and a pretty good draft coming up here. So I say be patient, but I think the Knicks could get a deal done. I'd like him in New York. But if I'm Utah, I'm not necessarily like gung-ho and needing RJ Barrett back either. Miami, I mean, you can get good role players back and get a ton of picks and try to keep shooting for that superstar player that gets you over the top. So a lot of different options. I just say be patient, and I'm sure Danny Ainge, I think he's as patient as they get. So he'll never take a deal he's not kicking the other team's ass.
Dave, what's your view on the Utah? I don't think we've talked much about the Utah situation. What's your whole entire look on this?
We haven't. A part of me almost feels like, since it's been a minute, because that team's been kind of built for a good amount of time, and I just keep seeing it fail over and over, even after some pretty damn good regular season visits. It almost kind of like a pressure getting to him. Like, is this actually going to work? Even if we keep Donovan, like, is this ever going to work? Just for some reason, whatsoever. So it's almost like a pressure thing that's kind of getting to him. But I do agree that you should just be patient, especially Donovan Mitchell. I think he's that good. So we'll see, though. We'll see what Utah does, because I don't know if they are feeling that pressure or not.
Real quickly, I mean, say they underachieved. You can make that argument, definitely, but I've always said I don't think they've ever had the talent to really win it all. I mean, they could have made it maybe a round further. Maybe they ended up a couple games short, but they probably would have lost in the conference finals and by a big margin.
Mm-hmm. Probably. So jumping right back to Brooklyn for 1 second, how much has the Rudy Gobert deal? Because I don't think anybody expected Gobert to get everything that they got. Utah, Danny Ainge did a great job getting that deal. The T-Wolves, I think, had enough to do that, and they're stable enough with their core that they can do what they did. So it was kind of a perfect storm for both teams. But how much has that deal made it that much harder for Kevin Durant to move? Because Durant on his own without the Gobert deal was still going to be a huge haul. But when it first came out, they were talking about less than what they got for Gobert in a way for KD moving around. What has that done? Is it, to me, I've said it before, I think it kind of makes KD almost impossible to trade in a way, because you're going to ask for Gobert plus. Like, for Kevin Durant, you're obviously going to ask for a lot more than Gobert. So it's like, how many teams outside of maybe Boston? I heard Golden State floated around, but it's like, what are you going to do? Like, it's almost impossible to trade Kevin Durant at this point. So do you feel the same way, that the Gobert trade kind of pigeonholed what you're going to get?
10x, yeah, no doubt. I think KD'd be gone by now. I think Donovan Mitchell would probably be gone by now if he got maybe 2 picks less. I always said I'm happy. I wanted Rudy Gobert. I love him on the team, but I would never have done the deal unless it was a couple less players or 2 or 3 first-round picks. I don't think he's worth much more than that. I think it was the four picks and a bunch of swaps, and then it equaled out to about 7 picks in total. And that's a Kevin Garnett type return. Shit.
Yeah. So put on your fan hat now. Talking about, outside of the analysis side of Gobert, what is he going to bring to the Timberwolves team that got to the playoffs? That was super emotional last year going on with the T-Wolves. I like D'Angelo Russell being a Nets fan. He created what this debacle is, but he made it possible to even be in this situation as a Nets fan where we have these superstars. What do you feel? What's your grade for that trade for Minnesota? Like you said, you would have done less. So what is kind of your put your fan cap on? How do you feel about like grading that trade? Were you kind of happy and miffed at the same time? Like, where were you?
Yeah. So right when it happened, exactly what you're saying, happy and miffed at the same time. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, we compare it to the 30-year history of the Timberwolves, which is the worst team in the NBA. So it's the bottom of the barrel.
It's unfortunate.
Let's just be honest here. I personally would have preferred guys like Miles Turner, Clint Capella, DeJounte Murray. I mean, I'll repeat that till I die. I really will. And I don't have title or bust expectations. Most people in Minnesota do not. And even the ones right away that did, I mean, have eased off quite a bit. My thing is, I mean, 1, Rudy's not worth his contract. 2, he's not worth the value we gave up. But, I mean, if it doesn't work out, which I don't see any way it doesn't work out. I mean, at the end of the day, the Timberwolves are only going to be as good as Anthony Edwards is. Okay. And, I mean, Karl Anthony Towns, I mean, how good he is. But Rudy Gobert is a perfect complementing piece. I mean, he's going to help everybody defensively, but also he's going to maximize D'Angelo Russell on offense. He's going to maximize Cat a little bit if they figure out how to work together. That's going to be the one kind of difficulty because Cat last year didn't play like the stretch 4 most people that didn't watch Minnesota think. I mean, he played a lot like Rudy Gobert down low, just with a lot better post moves and way more dominant. And he took threes actually. So that's why his points per game is way up. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think Vanderbilt and Pat Beverly are close to the value Rudy Gobert is going to bring to the Timberwolves. It's just a different aspect. Like, I love those guys. I thought they did way more than people give them credit for, but it's not the worst trade in 30 plus years like Bill Simmons and Russillo make it out to be, because it is Minnesota. I mean, we don't go for it. I mean, just commend teams when they do go for it and just take it. I mean, as a fan, it's like, we can't control this. So you just got to either embrace it or you're just going to cry about it and not enjoy it. So you really got to try to embrace it. But it was an ownership move. At the end of the day, it's new owners coming in, trying to make their mark. And usually that doesn't work out. But I think I like the fit and I really trust Anthony Edwards. And if it doesn't work out in a year or 2, we just trade Cat. We get all those picks back and more. Okay. And then we get all these guys that build around Anthony Edwards and Jaden. So I think we're in a fine position, and I don't think Cat's going to lose value through this. Maybe he does if we really struggle and he starts to decline because he can't fit what a good defensive center that many people think he needs around him, or a good defensive player in general. So, yeah, I think we did this because of ownership. We did it because of teams we're trying to beat, but it really doesn't help against a ton of teams. It helps against a couple. Hopefully they're the right ones, but these guys are a lot smarter than me making these decisions, and I'm gonna trust them. Connolly, I like the hire as a GM, but I don't know. I mean, I'm more concerned about it being an ownership pushing Connolly and forcing him to make this move versus he was willingly making this move himself.
I mean, the bright side is the pick and roll with D'Lo is going to be incredible because he is a pick and roll monster and his mid range is good. So having Rudy rolling, having Cat rolling, they're not going to know. So the offense, it's going to be weird because it's going to have to center around Anthony Edwards while still letting D'Lo run the pick and roll. So you're going to have to work some things out there. Now, I want to talk about another move that I don't think was too bad, but was critically panned as an overreach. Jalen Brunson to the Knicks. A lot of people have said that contract was way too much, overpaid. I remind them that the Nets paid more for D'Angelo Russell when they extended him. And I would like to say that, I think Jalen Brunson at this point in their careers where they were both at, is probably a little bit better player than D'Lo was. I like the move. I liked it for the Knicks because like you said, they're going for it a little bit. And they're finally doing things right where this team should be a playoff team with Jalen Brunson. I think they have an outskirts chance. They should be there. What do you feel about that move? Do you feel like it was too much of an overreach? Do you think it was the right move at the right time where they had to overpay a little? What do you think?
I don't think Jalen Brunson's going to get any worse. So I think that part, is pretty safe. Like he's got a really high floor. He's a great floor general. And I think he's already almost as good as peak Mike Conley, which might be a little bit of a hot take, but
wow.
Look how good Brunson was in the playoffs last year. It was phenomenal. And there was no bubble playoffs. There's no excuses to be made about it. That team, Dallas wasn't great all the way around, and Brunson showed out. When Luka was struggling, he came through.
He did what they thought Dinwiddie was going to do for them. And Dinwiddie was still good, but adding Brunson to that, they gave him an extra element.
Mm-hmm.
The Knicks believe in him. I believe in Brunson's defense more than most, but I think you put that on my court. You put RJ next to him, and I believe RJ's an all NBA type defender.
Yeah.
So regardless of how good you think Brunson is defensively, I think that's a match made in heaven. I don't think RJ needs a high usage percentage to be great. So I think right now those are their core pieces. Julius is either in or he's out this year. And if he's out, you trade him as soon as possible for a loss. But I think he's kind of a mental midget. I'm worried about him. I haven't seen somebody decline like that. Mentally within a year that bad in a long time. So at the end of the day, I think I like the Knicks roster, the way they're built, the way they're structured. It's going to come down to Julius Randle for how successful they are this year. But if they're able to get rid of him, which he's not going to be an easy guy to trade if he is struggling because he's got a really big contract, then things could get tricky. But I do like Obi Toppin coming in for him. I do like Grimes. I like Quickly. But I tell every Knicks fan that these guys are only as good as Tibbs lets them be, because I don't trust the Knicks young core because of Tom. I think the opportunity is really stagnant. I don't know who's going to get what, when. It's like some guys just need run. Some guys need tick to reach their full potential. And I don't think all of them are going to get that.
Yeah, there's no reason why Quickly isn't sixth man and getting 30 minutes because, like you said, he's a guy. You need to take his bad runs with his good runs, because when he's on, he's the best player on the floor.
Yeah.
And he's just scoring every time. He reminds me of a better Marcus Thornton in the way where Marcus Thornton, when Marcus Thornton was feeling it, you just gave him the ball and you got out of the way. He was shooting it from everywhere. But
I think play in your conference or something. Where'd that reference come from?
He was a net.
Right.
He was
okay.
net for a little bit. We were struggling. We were bad. He was one of the best players on the team. And we just had the hope that him and Andre Blatch would just not do something stupid. But
I'll always remember Blatch as the net. But Thornton,
I loved Dre. Point Blatch. I loved it.
I recognize Thornton more as a king.
Yeah,
I agree with that. But just in general, I remember having him. I remember like, okay, he could shoot pretty well, and then he would go and he'd be like, "Oh, Thornton's shooting. Thornton, stop shooting." And then there are other times where like he's shooting. Okay, we might win this game. So that was him at that point with the Nets. Any other moves on the top of your head that you like, that you hate? Any teams that you think have more work to do or didn't do enough? Give us drop us some knowledge here, because you're our basketball aficionado on the show.
So for teams I liked, what they did, I really like DeJounte Murray to the Hawks. I think that's going to be huge for Trae Young.
Oh, yeah.
The only way it could fail is if it's closer to the first half of Harden and Westbrook. I could see that happening a little bit, but like the upside's way better. DeJounte is a great defender, but I'm just saying, like the usage and
the way
losing DeJounte's potential a little bit, not maximizing him fully, which Trae can take away from. But I worry a lot less about that, especially with DeJounte becoming a much better shooter by the day. But yeah, I think he raised them at least a round in the playoffs, and I think they're close to being a complete contender there. I love Boston. I love what they're doing. Malcolm Brogdon there is such a magnified move for that team in so many ways. I
hate it for the same reason you like it.
Exactly. They have so much depth now. It's not even funny, but they also can give a lot of players up for a guy like KD and still just be pretty damn deep, you know? And Philly, I mean, Melton's sneaky, very sneaky, gives them defense they needed. That one's not being talked about, but you bring in PJ Tucker, you bring in House. I didn't really like the House deal as much, but who else did they bring in? They brought in one other Houston Rocket. I think
they went on a rocket run.
Yeah. But I liked what they did. Let's see. I don't know. There's just a lot of good marginal moves. I think Dallas taking a swing on Christian Wood was fine. I definitely, that one I argue with people till I'm blue in the face. It's like Brunson, losing him and gaining Christian Wood, like that doesn't make you much better. Like that. No. Brunson's definitely way more valuable. I mean, Christian Wood's still a prove-it player. I mean, he's done decent things on a terrible team, and he did a lot of bad things on a terrible team too. So I don't think they got a ton better. That was a little disappointing. Other than that, it was just a lot of good re-signings. The Kings, though, the Kings are the last team I'll mention for now. They're Kevin Huerter move, like stuff like that. Like they're actually building a fluid roster, and I'm starting to believe in them a little bit. Like they can actually make the playoffs finally.
Don't do it. Don't do it. No, it's the Kings. They're still the Kings.
We'll see where I have them in my rankings coming up. But
so, Dallas, I kind of feel for Dallas because they've been swinging and missing with bigs for the last few years to try and pair somebody with Luka that can really run a competent offense and complement and help. Christian Wood has the potential to be a really good player. He really helped me in fantasy 2 years ago before he went down. So, but no, he's a nice player if he has his head on straight. So we'll see. We'll see.
You think he can get much better than he is?
I mean, he has potential. He really does. I still think if you can't get better when you're playing with Luka Doncic, then you're not good. Like that's just how it comes. Like that, because Luka's not the type of superstar that he's more the LeBron than the Kobe. He's going to get his, but he's going to try and make, if you're open, he's going to find you. That's the type of guy he is. And I think that took Spencer Dinwiddie a little bit of getting used to because he was so used to making his own. And you saw it after Dinwiddie came back from injury and then a little bit in the playoffs, they really started to gel much more to the point where when Dinwiddie was hot, Luka would defer to him and Dinwiddie would run the offense. So I think that's the thing is if you can't get better with the Luka Doncic, then you're not a good player. That's just my eyes. He's one of those guys that just makes players better.
Not wrong. I mean, there's literally probably, I always say there's like 4 players that make almost everyone around them better all the time. Luka falling in that category with Jokic. Harden's one of them, in my opinion. Chris Paul's up there. LeBron, I mean, because the problem with LeBron, like, yes, he's made guys better, but he's also made a lot of people worse because you don't know when you're getting the ball with LeBron. Like, that's the thing. I truly tell people like that, like, yeah, he's so smart. He makes the right move, but the right move for mostly him. And it catches people off guard.
I feel like LeBron's issue at this point in his career, and it took a turn kind of when he went back to Cleveland, to win the championship. If he can't trust you, he doesn't care for you on his team. Like, he has to trust that you're going to, like, J.R. Smith kind of scarred him when he called the timeout that didn't exist and tried to run it out. Like, if he can't fully trust you, then he's not, like, you have to earn LeBron's trust before him to actually make you participant. I think part of the issue with the Lakers right now is I don't know how much you trust Anthony Davis, because Anthony Davis has kind of done a disappearing act as a bona fide top 5 player, bar none, to now, where the hell do you rank Anthony Davis? Like, talent-wise, he's still top 5. Production and performance, how much is it LeBron? That really, you know, I don't know. That whole team kind of, outside of LeBron, I don't think you could point a finger at, you know, any other player on that team that you're super confident in that's going to perform. And I love Russell Westbrook. I've been a Russell Westbrook fan my whole life. But it's so difficult. It's so difficult. So I want to move on to last thing for the show here. Something that I don't know how many people talk about, but you're a basketball guy, so I want to pick your brain on this. The rookie sophomore class, that's your Scotty Barnes, those type of players. Who that's kind of was good last year, do you think is going to take that next step? Who's kind of going to be like the Ja Morant that we now look at a superstar, the Shai Gilgeous, I always say his name wrong, Alexander, that is now a bona fide star in the league. Who do you see that has that potential to step up and be those type of guys?
All right, so for just that class, for me, I mean, Jalen Green's going to pop out more than most because he's going to have the opportunity and the team fits around him really nicely. So it's just like designed for him to go get 25. I mean, he might look a more flashy version of Andrew Wiggins. We'll see how productive it is right away. But like this team, I'm all in on the Rockets' future, just not necessarily right now. At the end of the day, the only guy I'm concerned about a little bit is Kevin Porter Jr., and that's more so on the mentality side of things. But like this team's built perfectly. If everybody develops, I think they can be a real contender without really moving things around much. And that's within 2 years probably. Like I think the talent on that team is that good. Jabari Smith, Alperen Sengun. Yeah, I'm all in. So Scotty Barnes, it's crazy how strong that guy's looking. I mean, the muscles on that guy are unreal. So hopefully the shot develops with his muscles, because that would be out of this world. I mean, those things are hulkish. But I think he's got. I'll say Jalen Green's got top 10 potential player wise. I don't think there's a great chance he reaches. I think it's closer to top 15. Definitely higher upside than like Bradley Beal. But I'm not saying I'm guaranteeing that by any means, but Evan Mobley would be the third one I'd pinpoint for now. Other than that, like guys that could be all-stars. I mean, Cade Cunningham's a guarantee. Like,
yeah, he's a good player.
I'd give up a lot if doesn't become an all-star in the next 2 years. Like, and he's just got the keys to the franchise. There's nobody in his way there. I mean, Jaden Ivey is going to be great next to him. And the other pieces just fit really nicely to really capitalize on his strengths. So it's those other three that, I mean, you still have questions. I mean, in Houston, I mean, the coach is the biggest question mark besides Kevin Porter Jr. Not sold on Silas yet. But other than that, I don't really know if there's any other all-star potentials in this draft. I really don't.
What do you think James Wiseman's going to be? He's going to be coming back off injury. He's playing with the best team in the league. He's not the starter because Looney has earned that spot, but there's potential for him if his talent level was high, and we didn't get to see with the injury. So what's the chance of Wiseman taking over Looney's spot and kind of fitting himself into that group?
If he can't take over Looney's spot, I mean, the dude should have never been drafted in the top 7, maybe even 10 or so. But, I mean, Looney's very underrated. He's super impactful in the playoffs, but don't get me wrong. I mean, he's definitely not a top 10 center, and it's not a very deep position either. So Wiseman's got to be able to earn that, first of all, but that's the first small goal for him. But at the end of the day, it's all going to come down. Can the guy shoot? Can he defend? And I think he can score in the post. I think where he's going to be able to do that. I think he's going to be able to rim run. There's just, when I talk about these things, there's so many different versions that could come out in this guy. And I'm more concerned about his defense than anything. I'll tell you that.
A question is, how much does a guy like Wiseman, who has probably the potential to be a pretty good player, get kind of hurt in a way? You know, some of these guys that go to like bad teams, they get to run as the guy with the ball in their hands. Right. They get to be, you know, bigs. And even like, you know, we talked about Christian Wood, like he was a focal point on a bad team for a long time. We got to see what he is. We're not going to find out very much about Wiseman too much. Even healthy, even if he takes over Looney's spot, he's nowhere near the focal point. He's on a very low spot. He's going to be on there to get rebounds and play defense and do putbacks because, you know, and if he gets in the starting lineup, he's the fifth guy. So it's like, it's going to be tough, I guess, to judge him. So what do you think? Like, is he in like a pretty bad situation to kind of get there in that group of greats in his class?
It's a really tough subject for sure. I always say guys like Jordan Poole, Jonathan Kuminga, even Moses Moody, like those guys have really high ceilings to me if they were in other situations. Like Jordan Poole, I just don't know how much better he's going to get with the touches and opportunity he's going to get there. Like, yeah, I think he can be this whole other creator. I could be a playmaker. Even you can develop out of this guy. He could average maybe 25 somewhere. Maybe he does that in Golden State if Steph just chills and cuts back a lot to save for the playoffs. But do we really see that?
No chill in Steph at all.
Right. He's pulling up across half court. And it's like
he's such an asshole. Like he really is, like in the nicest way. Steph is that dude like at the park that just knows he's better than everyone and doesn't even let like the 12-year-old take a shot that you guys agreed to let play. Like he's that guy.
Yes. No, dead on. So we're not even gonna get to see those guys maximize, let alone a center in that offense when the whole offense revolves around the perimeter. I mean, if you're priding this guy on his offensive abilities, yeah, we're not gonna see anything remotely close. I mean, where he's gonna have to make his mark is defense and, like you said, rebounding. I compare him to, like, I'm not saying his game I'm comparing him to, but the situation. I mean, Rudy Gobert's usage percentage dropped down to 13% in the playoffs, guys. Like, that's what I'm not looking forward to, paying $47 million for that guy, a guy who can't go get a bucket. $47 million. I mean, I want that guy to be able to at least make a mid-ranger. Shit. I mean, it's kind of gross to think about, but at the end of the day, it's a game about getting clutch buckets. I mean, the best players can score on the best defenders. I truly believe that. I'm an offense first guy. Defense does matter. I mean, Boston proved it this year, but they lost for a reason. They couldn't get a bucket when it mattered. So James Wiseman, you're right. I'd lean more towards your way. That not a great situation because I don't like. Onyeka Okongwu was my guy in that draft. I had him over James Wiseman. I still have him over him, and he's already proven the defensive side. Like, it's just, is he going to start to show he can be like Bam on defense? And his touches might be limited offensively too, but I actually believe in his shot. Like he's shown stuff like that, but yeah.
So on the rookie side, you mentioned Jordan Ivory. We have Chet Holmgren. Who is your kind of favorite to be, you know, a guy that is actually a contributor and someone that we can look and say, they have superstar potential?
Those guys. So the top four guys, for me, I mean, there was I had a tier of them their own. It was Paolo was one for me. He's been one since last fall. It was pretty happy to be right about that one. That was surprising. I mean, that just with all the reports, I thought Jabari was going to go one, even though I was on Paolo from the beginning. But then Jabari, I had two. I had Chet 4. But honestly, they can still finish any order. But of those 4, I'm pretty sold on 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4 being mixed up a little bit. I do think ceiling wise, that's kind of like when I'm making my big board, I value ceiling the most. Because when you're drafting the number one guy, hopefully you're striking gold, and I don't care about the floor as much.
Yeah.
But the thing with Paolo, I think his floor is incredibly high too. And all these guys, they got a really high floor. It's just Chet was number 4 for me because I think his ceiling's the lowest. And Jabari's, I think I had him 2 over Jaden. I think he's got a little lower ceiling than Jaden. But I don't think there's a ton of there wasn't that number 1 prospect like Cade this year. He would have been number 1 in this draft. Like Polo's ceiling to me, I'd say right now it's top 10, top 12-ish. But even then, I'm not that confident in it. So it's just a really high floor. Like I think he'll be an all-star by year 2 or 3, especially in that team. But yeah, I don't think there's, as of right now, until I see 2 years into this thing, I don't really see like a clear-cut superstar. But Paolo, I mean, he got bullied around, and who was it against? Oh, DeJounte Murray, the Seattle Pro-Am recently.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge mental aspect guy. So if you show me like you're kind of mentally weak a little bit, even though that could have been both ways. I mean, DeJounte was just straight up disrespectful a little bit. But I'm all about it.
He's a baller.
Exactly.
But all right, so let's get a little mean here, though. Any players that you have in the rookie sophomore class that we should be looking at right now? Maybe not the rookies. I'll be unfair. They haven't touched the ball yet. But in the sophomore class that you might be sitting there going, yeah, they might be a bust.
So you already mentioned, I mean, Wiseman I had written down for this question for sure.
That's fair.
But, I mean, he should get, like, playing time. It's just, will he get touches? And will he be utilized properly? Probably not. Those things, like, that matters. I mean, first of all, most people need playing time. Second of all, the surrounding your environment matters. I mean, I'm a big environment guy. Jalen Suggs, tricky. I still believe in him a lot. It's just there's the surroundings there. You got Markelle Fultz, you got Cole Anthony, Gary Harris they brought back. It's just like
it's gonna be tough to there's only one basketball.
Yeah, it's like Paolo and you got Franz Wagner, and then everybody else is just like fighting for their lives there. And that's great for the team. It's just like these players to take huge confidence swings at these guys. Jarrett Culver, I mean, he's a third-year guy now, and Cam Reddish. Those guys, I mean, Reddish I still believe in, but like opportunity-wise, like Tibbs just threw him to the bench, and I know a lot of people said he wasn't good. But like I liked him in Atlanta in the playoffs. Like the dude was really critical of his rookie year in the playoffs defensively, and that should have only been momentum going forward.
Yeah.
So it's going to come down to opportunity for Reddish. Culver, I'm so out on. I think that's about as busty as it gets. My guy, Killian Hayes, I mean, I could be incredibly wrong on him, but I still think there's a fighting chance that, I mean, he can be a two-way guy. I mean, he's good, decent defensively. I'm still reaching. I mean,
Killian's health is his biggest issue. The guy can't stay on the floor.
Really? So you're liking his game right now? Are we saying that?
He has skill. I feel like
skill, but inconsistent.
Yeah. But honestly, like you said, guys need run, guys need play. He was the starting point guard even through his injury his rookie year. They bet we're gonna start him. Now Cade comes and it's like, okay, Killian, you're done. Like we now have somebody they wanted to build around Killian. I really feel like the Pistons wanted to build around Killian Hayes. They believed in his talent. I don't think he's a bad player, but I mean, when you're so constantly hurt, you lose your explosion, you lose certain things. Like you talked about the mental, can't be good mentally. You know, Markelle Fultz is a Superman because he can consistently come back from being hurt and continue to play at a high level after being made fun of for not having a shot. Screw you, Ben Simmons, get a shot. If Fultz can, you can. So that's your list of bust. I think that's a fair list. So last question.
Killian, real quick, he had a 12-game stretch last year that was solid. to end the year. Shot 47% in that stretch, 32% from three, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 11 points. Like, if he can be that guy and just get his 3-point percentage up, like, I like the fit with him and Cade too, but obviously,
and Ivy.
I don't like all 3 of them together.
Just pass the ball to those 2. Get your assist game up. Be a Rondo. Drive the rim, pass the ball a lot, and develop a 3 where you're shooting 25%, but you only make it when it matters. That's Rajon Rondo's career.
Why not? Yeah, why not? Because Cade, I mean, I liked the Grant Hill comparison coming in, like, move him to the 3, and then if Jaden and just the combo guarding the front court there, so backcourt.
Certainly in this league, Cade could definitely play the Grant Hill style because he's not going to get bullied around by anybody. All right, so last question before we go. A healthy Zion Williamson, is he the rookie of the year this year? That's the joke. The man never plays. But that's where we're going to close out the show on a terrible
Ben
NBA.
Simmons, Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
They're still fighting for that rookie of the year.
They're still fighting for it. I think they're all eligible again this year. All right. Anyway, everyone, thank you so much for listening. I thought that was a fun show. I really enjoyed having Zach on. Zach, I'm happy that we actually were able to get this done. Again, he's Zak Noble, co-host of Noble Roosh Show, #1 show on the Ball is Life network. If you are a basketball fan and you have never fallen down a Ball is Life YouTube wormhole, then you are not actually a basketball fan. I have found myself starting at 9:30 and looking up and it's 2:00 and I'm like, shit, I have watched way too much street ball. But definitely go check out their show. Zach, outside of the show, any social media, any other plugs that you want to give?
Not really. No, I appreciate you guys having me on. Glad we finally did this. And anytime you want me on, it's fun conversation, guys.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Dave, do you have anything to close out with before?
No, I enjoyed the conversation. I enjoyed hearing all of this. It's very fun.
We are going to try to be back Wednesday on a short week. Dave, are you capable of doing that?
Yeah, it'll be fine.
I'm getting it on the recording just so I'm holding you to it now. So you see,
that's fine.
Either, so, all right, everyone, once again, like, share, follow, subscribe, give us a rating. 5 stars is the only one. Spread this word of mouth. And thank you so much for listening all. Have a good one.